Alright, Shalom Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Hebrews. Our forefathers earned their respect from Creator Yah. What happened to their descendants? You know what happened to Prophet Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob descendants, who the promise was to? You know, what happened to them? Did they earn respect from Almighty Yah? Did they keep Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob ways? No, our ancestors did not. And then that's what caused slavery for us Israelites, is because that we didn't, earn Almighty Yah respect. We didn't keep the promise that, our ancestors made with Almighty Yah at Sinai with Prophet Moses. Deuteronomy tell you about it. If you read the book of Deuteronomy, you'll run across that history where we made an agreement, and then in order to be a blessed people and favored by Almighty Yah and have His respect, you have to follow the example of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Those prophets, those are our forefathers. And, you have to be upstanding like them. And what's the most important ingredient, man, about them that make them up is that they wouldn't worship no other gods. Now, Almighty Yah, He know we humans and that we sin, but, that the most important thing is that He didn't want us to worship no gods, no other gods. That don't believe in no gods, don't believe in no other gods, and don't get tricked by the people who believe in the gods. Our ancestors couldn't do that, and we fell victim to the Egyptian gods. Is basically what destroyed us Israelites. Is that we follow the Egyptian gods. That was like really the first nation that we went to and that we got tricked by. That's what caused us Israelites to get tricked and to lose our heritage. And I think the spirit of whoredom that Prophet Hosea spoke about, that we picked it up then. I'm going to see if I can show a little of that history. But that's what caused us Israelites to get messed up, is that we couldn't keep the ways of our forefathers, Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, and that we couldn't keep their way and earn respect from Almighty Yah by not worshiping the other gods. And I can show that Prophet Abraham and Jacob went to Egypt, which was an influential nation, and they worshiped all the gods that was similar to the ones in Mesopotamia, and that how that they gods was big and fancy, but how Prophet Abraham or our father Jacob didn't go for it and believed in Yah, and Pharaoh had to know that they believed in Almighty Yah. But I'm gonna show you this. All right, and this was said before we broke the covenant and got enslaved. That Prophet Hosea said this. Let's go to let's see if we can find Hosea 4:11, and let's see what it say. All right, when it says, this is Hosea 4:11. Whoredom and new wine take away the heart. My people ask counsel at their flocks, and their staff declared unto them, for the spirit of whoredoms hath caused them to err. They have gone a-whoring from under their Yah. And that's what our ancestors did when we forsake the covenant, abandon it, and went into Egypt to do their religion. That's what caused slavery for us. One of the best kept secrets on the face of this earth. But if you go to Ezekiel 23, and this is around 595 BCE, we was on our way out the door. We was at, we was finna get kicked out the land, driven out the land, and we would eventually go into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. The book of Ezekiel gonna be like the first invasions by the Babylonians when they came, after we wouldn't, do right. That we allowed the Egyptians to kill King Josiah, our last hope, after he had cleansed the land of the pagan religions and so forth that was in the land. And, they killed him, and we went back to the Egyptian religion, and we was driven out the land. But the book of Ezekiel is good to read. It was written about 595 BCE, and it's like the first invasion. And then we had another chance where Almighty Yah kept giving us chances, and that's what the prophet Jeremiah was there for. And then that history will be like our last act on the promised land before we was driven into the curses. We couldn't be like our forefathers, and earn respect from the Creator, and that how we went to secondary gods to worship, as our people do this day. They worship gods given to us during the slavery days, and man, they gave us a God that's easy to believe in because it's similar or supposed to have came off of our history, but I showed that it's a 500-year difference between the Tanakh history and New Testament history. All right. Our whoredom, gonna come from Egypt, and this is what caused us to err, is that we too quick to worship and embrace other ethnic groups, gods and so forth, that our forefathers didn't create or worship or understood. Prophet Abraham didn't understand no demigod or God's sons or sons coming from women miraculously. And Prophet Isaac didn't believe in that, and Prophet Jacob, our father, didn't believe in that. So we got to believe the way that they believe. And you're not doing wrong if you believe the way that Prophet Abraham believed in Almighty Yah, one Creator, and with no additives and no, sons doing this and that coming to save humanity, because only Almighty Yah saves, as the Tanakh proves. All right, this is us in our first, whoredom, being introduced to wickedness on a massive level, is being in Egypt for all that time that we was there. The word of the Elohim came again unto me. This is Ezekiel 23. The word of the Elohim came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. Look, you see that word whoredoms? Now I just showed you that Prophet Hosea said that whoredoms caused us to err, and that's gonna be in 753 BC when his history was wrote. All right. Son of man, there are two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the tents of their virginity. And the name of them are Ahala, the elder, and Ahalaba, her sister, and they were mine, and they bare sons and daughters. This were their names. Samaria is Ahala, and Jerusalem is Haran. So, we didn't earn, you can't earn respect from the Creator in whoredom. The Creator hate whoredom worse than anything because it shows no loyalty. Whoredom is a bad thing to forsake your Yah and then go embrace other gods and so forth. And it's easy to understand that Prophet Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that they didn't do the Egyptian religion, and they was in Egypt. They was in Egypt. Prophet Abraham and Jacob was, that can be shown easily. Man, if you go to, I think it's Genesis 13. Genesis 13, let's look at it and show how our prophet Abraham, our father, was when he, you know, when he was in Egypt, and then how did, he didn't, forsake the Creator none at all. That our father Abraham went to Egypt, and, Pharaoh couldn't trick him into believing in his gods and so forth. Alright. That'll be, let's see. I had this all figured out. Alright. Yeah, Israelites, our foreparents earned Almighty Yah's respect, by not worshiping other gods and not being shooken, what I'm saying, up out of that, and staying down with, with the Creator, and believing in Almighty Yah. Man, it's what our foreparents did, and they was blessed and live good lives and so forth, because that the spirit of whoredom to go worship other gods didn't affect them and so forth. That they didn't have no man to do that. Alright. And I thought I had it. Let's see. That'll be Genesis 13, I believe. Alright. Genesis 13. And Abraham went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had. Prophet Abraham had went to Egypt, and while he was in Egypt, that he didn't pick up the Egyptian ways and so forth. That he was more or less worried about what them Egyptians would do to Sarah, our mother, and so forth. And we know how Pharaoh supposed to have snatched her up. Pharaoh's princess snatched her up because she was a beautiful woman, and tried to put her in Pharaoh's harem. And that how that our mother didn't get the spirit of whoredom. She could have whored off and messed it with Pharaoh. Man, I'm talking about the Pharaoh wanted her as a wife, and she would have inherited a lot of stuff, and would have been Pharaoh's wife. But Almighty Yah, he didn't let that happen, because our mother Sarah didn't have the spirit of whoredom in her. And, the Egyptians, kicked Prophet Abraham up out of Egypt, because he was a Yah worshiper, and he probably, didn't acknowledge and have no respect for the Egyptian gods. When you get to, this is Genesis 12, and the Elohim plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. And Pharaoh called Abraham and said, "What is it that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife?" See, she wouldn't be no whore to him, and probably wouldn't lay down with him or nothing like that. And Pharaoh knew that, hey, they ain't worshiping our gods. His wife won't trick off with me because I got all these riches. You see, that's earning Almighty Yah respect. Why didst thou, she, why sayest thou, she is my sister, so I might have taken her to me to wife? And therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go thy way. See, our mama wouldn't trick off with him, even though he had a lot of power and a lot of riches that our mama Sarah didn't hold, didn't whore herself. And Prophet Abraham probably could have, changed and relaxed a little bit in Egypt, and had a little fun there. But no, he stayed strong and worshiped Almighty Yah even while he was in Egypt. So, that's earning respect right there. Look, and Abraham went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with them into the south. He gonna probably go when they say the south. I know that they talking about, look, you see Egypt right there in the south, and then he got some cattle and some gold and a whole bunch of wealth, and then he went on to the promised land. That's the south of Egypt. And then, look, and Abraham was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. The Sudan gonna have a whole bunch of that, or what's called uh, uh, upper uh, upper Egypt is really the south. All right. So we see that our prophet Abraham and our mama Sarah stayed strong, and they wouldn't believe in the Egyptian gods or none of that. And then they would leave Egypt and then go settle, in the promised land, and that, Sodom and Gomorrah was right next door to him, and prophet Abraham could have went and settled in Sodom or Gomorrah when he told his nephew Lot that the land is too big for us and we got to split up because we got too much. We got too much cattle and too much everything. So, Prophet Abraham could have went that way, but no, he didn't go that way. Lot went to Sodom and Gomorrah. See, and Prophet Abraham stayed, you know, clear of them places, and that's showing his respect, he to Almighty Yah, and that's earning respect too. If you show respect, you know what I'm saying, you earning respect, and that's what our father Abraham did. All right. If we go to Genesis, that'd be Genesis 46. We're gonna see that our father Jacob went to Egypt, and he gonna be earning Almighty Yah respect. And I'm gonna tell you another thing that's earning Almighty Yah respect that would influence Isaac, Prophet Abraham's son, to follow and believe in Almighty Yah is when the Prophet Abraham was told to sacrifice Isaac, and Isaac, believing and seeing that he would do it in the name of Yah, that Abraham would kill him in the name of Yah, and then Almighty Yah setting men a sacrificial ram for him that was caught in the bushes and so forth, and that Prophet Isaac would see this and understand this, and that would strengthen his faith in Almighty Yah, and then he would earn respect throughout his life by just being a Yah worshiper, and believing in Almighty Yah judgment, and what's right and so forth. So, Prophet Isaac earned Almighty Yah respect when he was, in the land of Canaan where all the wickedness was. He didn't go to Egypt, that he was in Canaan, and that how he didn't worship none of the Canaanite gods that was surrounding him, and was only a Yah worshiper. And that's earning respect. And that's what our father Isaac did. And let me show our father Jacob going down in Egypt when his son Joseph was, took in there and sold, and did what Almighty Yah instructed him to do, and that, how did, he saved the Israelite nation by doing what Almighty Yah told him what to do in Egypt, and having the resources to reach out to us Hebrews, us Israelites that was in the promised land that didn't have, the resources because it was a famine. And then Almighty Yah would tell, our father Jacob, because he thought his son Joseph had, died and was gone because of what his son said. And Almighty Yah told him that, hey, you finna see your son Joseph, and everything gonna be all right. And then our father Jacob was in Egypt and seen Pharaoh and everything. Pharaoh rapped with him, and our father Jacob stayed strong. I mean, he had the opportunity to embrace the Egyptian religion. Prophet Joseph stayed strong. Our father Joseph stayed strong because he in the Egyptian system, working in Egypt, but he's still a Yah worshiper and only believed in Almighty Yah. And you can't show nowhere in Tanakh history that Joseph worshiped the Egyptian gods and so forth. And it showed that he prayed to Yah only. All right, if you go to 46, all right, now this is our father Israel. And Israel took his journey with all that he had and come to Beersheba and offered sacrifices unto the Yah of his father Isaac. And Jacob spake unto Israel. Let me see. And Yah spake unto Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. And he said, I am Yah, the Yah of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. I will go down with thee into Egypt, and I will also surely bring thee up again. And Joseph shall put his hand upon them eyes. Now, all our father Israel know is that Joseph is supposed to have got torn by some animals and gone. You know, he know that his brothers and them done sold him off and so forth. But here the Creator telling him that he finna see his son. Then his son Joseph shall put his hand upon thine eyes. And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father and their little ones and their wives in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their cattle and their goods which they had gotten in the land of Canaan, and come into Egypt, Jacob and all his seed with him, his sons with him, and his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his seed brought him with him into Egypt. And these are the names of the children. You know what I'm saying? They go on to explain all the ones that went into Egypt and so forth. And then as you read, Joseph said unto his brethren, all right, let's find this. Look. So, you know, our father Jacob would earn Almighty Yah's respect by not worshiping and falling victim to the Egyptian system as his descendants, Jacob's descendants, eventually did. And then that's what destroyed us. See, we didn't earn Almighty Yah respect. Look, the land of Egypt, all right, the land of Egypt is before thee, the best of the land. Make thy father and brethren to dwell in the land of Goshen, let them dwell. And if thou knowest any man of activity among them, then make them rulers over my cattle. And Joseph brought in Jacob his father and set him before Pharaoh. And Jacob blessed Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Jacob, How old art thou? And Jacob said unto Pharaoh, The days of the years of my pilgrimage are 130 years. Few and evil have the days of the years of my life been, and I have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their pilgrimage. You know, so our father, Jacob, you know, could have possibly, you know, fell weak in worship the Egyptian system. No, he stayed strong. He stayed strong, and you know, he not gonna, you know, let Pharaoh pressure him into worshiping. You know, you can give us land and give us everything you want, that we not gonna worship the Egyptian gods and so forth. And that our father Jacob was like a light for us that we should have followed when we was in Egypt. But you know, us Israelites, you know, we broke bad, and we didn't, you know, earn the respect from Almighty Yah by not fooling with the other gods like our, you know, father Jacob. You know, all right, you know, let me show some other little history, you know, man, about that promise. And this was said, you know, because, you know, if Prophet Abraham's descendants would have followed his ways, then, you know, what he taught us, not to worship other gods and only believe in Almighty Yah, then we would have been all right. We would have been all right, man. If you go to I mean, it'll be Genesis 18. Let's see. Genesis 18:19. Let's see what that say. Genesis 18:19. Alright, and it says, For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Elohim to do justice and judgment, that the Elohim may bring upon Abraham that which he had spoken of him. You know, so that's what our ancestors was supposed to have did, was follow the teachings of Abraham. As we supposed to do this day, is that he didn't worship no other gods. He didn't worship secondary gods, and that how he only believed in one creator. One creator. And then if you look throughout the Tanakh history, that, you know, we didn't start, you know, man, we messed up, start messing up, and not being faithful, and continuing whoredom is when we left Egypt, and when Prophet Moses went up to get the law, the contract, and that how that while he was gone, that our folks fell victim and started the spirit of whoredom got us, and then we start worshiping the Egyptian religion. The 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 golden calf ain't nothing but the is Horus institution of Egypt. You know, the golden calf, it's the is Horus institution of Egypt, and we fooled it with that stuff. And then here's a little pause of it when Prophet Moses had went up, you know, and got the law, that, you know, that the Israelites, because some Egyptians had left with us. Let me show some Egyptians leaving with us, and they gonna have the spirit of whoredom with us. So we being tested. We being tested when we leave Egypt by allowing these folks to leave with us. You know, man, if you go to Genesis, that'd be, I mean, Exodus 12:38, and you'll see, and a mixed multitude went up also with them, flocks and herds, and even very much cattle. So some Egyptians went up with us. Some Egyptians went up with us, and that wasn't a good thing. That wasn't a good thing, because they had the spirit of whoredom in them. It was like we was being tested. We was being tested, and those Egyptians, man, we kept men in contact with. You know, we kept contact with them, because I could show that the tribe of Ephraim had the spirit of whoredom in them when they would, you know, go back and forth to Egypt, to Assyria doing trade. And that'd be Hosea 12. Alright, so we know the mixed multitude left with us up on Exodus, and they gonna have the spirit of whoredom in them Egyptians. And I believe that they were sent because Pharaoh knew, you know, I could show that Pharaoh knew that we was in the promised land, and that might be a problem with the Egyptians doing trade with the Mesopotamians. You know, if you go to Genesis 45, I'm going to show this real quick. That'll be Genesis 45. See, Pharaoh going to want to put the spirit of whoredom on us. You know, he going to want the spirit of whoredom to be on us, to ruin us. And knowing that we, you know, Prophet Abraham had the blessings from Almighty Yah to be in what they call Palestine, in the promised land, and that Pharaoh couldn't do nothing about it because Pharaoh gods are not real. And then that's why come Prophet Abraham wasn't, challenged and had to fight the Egyptians because they knew that he was a prophet of the real creator. All right, Genesis 45:17. Let's see what it say. All right. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, say unto thy brethren, this do ye lay your beasts and go get you unto the land of Canaan. See, and take your father in your household and come unto me, and I will give you the good of the land of Egypt, and ye shall eat the fat of the land. See, that'll make you lose your way. That'll make you lose your way right there. You got a whole bunch of substance, and it's easy, man, to lose your way if you're surrounded by riches and so forth. And that how our father Jacob, when he went there, that he gonna be a hardcore Yah worshiper, and that the Egyptian system couldn't influence him, but it influenced his descendants. See, because I showed that the Creator showing with Prophet Ezekiel how that we got turned out in Egypt, and the spirit of whoredom got on us. All right, so we know that Pharaoh knew that we was in the promised land, so he gonna want us to fail the institution of the Pharaoh. There's a lot of pharaohs, kings of Egypt, but the Pharaoh is just the institution, and that how that they would want us to fail and not worship the one and true Creator. But I show you how our father Abraham was there and Jacob was there, and they didn't, shake from worshiping Almighty Yah, and how that they was Yah worshipers even in the big old system where they was overwhelmed, militarily overwhelmed, and that the nation was somewhat more powerful than they was physically, but how spiritually our fathers was more powerful than the Egyptians because they only followed Yah. They only followed Yah. And Prophet Abraham was there in Mesopotamia, and how he left there because they wasn't Yah worshippers, and went to the promised land like the Creator told him, so he could set up a nation of Yah worshippers, and his descendants would earn respect from the Creator by following his example. But we know that didn't happen. We know that didn't happen. That's like another thing. I was reading the history of Prophet Abraham, and how he had Hagar, the Egyptian, as a wife, and that how that didn't influence him by him having the first son Ishmael. You know what I'm saying, by him, but how Prophet Abraham, once he was given that promise that his seed would control the promised land, and be there for Yah worship, is that he sent the Egyptian on after our mother Sarah had a child who was a Hebrew. She was a Hebrew, so then they made the land, for the Hebrews, and not some Israelites mixed with Egyptians, and a Hebrew mixed with Egyptian, as Ishmael would have been, and so forth, giving him rights over the promised land. And that how that the Creator chose Isaac. Isaac got the promise, and that from Prophet Isaac, Jacob, and then our Israelite nation would get the promise. I can go to Genesis 26. Go to Genesis 26. And we got to earn respect from the Creator by only worshiping Him, but by only worshiping Almighty Yah. And there was famine in the land besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. Isaac went with Amalek, king of the Philistines, unto Ger. And the Elohim appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and I will bless thee, for unto thee and unto thy seed will I give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swore unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge and my commandments and my statutes and my laws. And that's going to be not to worship other gods. Prophet Abraham could have stayed with his relatives in Mesopotamia and worshiped other gods. Prophet Abraham followed Almighty Yah's guidance and directions the whole time. This earning respect from the Creator. All right, so we see how Isaac got the promise, and then our father Jacob. You know what I'm saying? He would get the promise. Because of Isaac, and then that's why come Ishmael. Because he would probably have the spirit of whoredom on him, being that his mama was an Egyptian, and that his mama got him an Egyptian wife, and so forth. His mama got him an Egyptian wife, and then that would make him have the spirit of whoredom. Man, if you go to I think that's Genesis 21:21, and he dwelled in the wilderness, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. This is Ishmael. After our mother Hagar had after our mother Sarah had Isaac, that they didn't need Hagar and Ishmael around challenging Isaac's a covenant that the Creator made. So they would had to go, because it's a Hebrew thing. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of Egypt, out of the land of Egypt. So Ishmael wouldn't have the blessings from Almighty Yah to inherit the land. That's like Edom wouldn't have earned Almighty Yah respect by going into the Canaanite tribes and going into the Canaanite tribes and being and becoming part of them, and that he couldn't have earned Almighty Yah respect, because Almighty Yah told us to destroy the nations that he had went into. So our father Jacob would earn Almighty Yah's respect by going down to Egypt and not worshiping the Egyptian system, and staying strong and believing in Yah inside the Egyptian system. Now that's the same way that we have to be to earn respect from the Creator, is to be Yah worshipers in this Egyptian Babylonian system, in this captivity that we in. This captivity that we in. That's what we have to do. You're going to earn respect from the Creator by only worshiping Him, because of, we surrounded like our father Jacob was and Abraham was when they was in the Egyptian system. They wasn't under oppression, but they was in the system nevertheless, and it was worse for them, because they had all the trinkets and the things that's given to them that could influence them to worship another way, because here they go, got a lot of gold, in the Egyptian area, and prospered and so forth. So they could attribute that to worshiping the Egyptian gods, or something like that, or being the Egyptian gods bestowed favors on them. No, they stayed strong with Yah worship inside the Egyptian system. You see what I'm saying? So that's what we Israelites, got to do. That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. We got to worship Almighty Yah and earn His respect by only worshiping Him. And I'm going to show you what would not make us have Almighty Yah respect. See, King David gonna earn Almighty Yah respect by just being a Yah worshiper. Alright, if you go to the book of Jeremiah, this is our last act on the promised land. And if you're familiar with the book of Jeremiah, that, oh man, it's awful, and how we Israelites was given all kind of chances to just do Yah worship, and then how the spirit of whoredom got us. The spirit of whoredom got us. And this is it right here. This is us going into Africa, which would cause our enslavement. This would cause our enslavement. Alright, if you go to Jeremiah 44, and then you get down, then this is just our last act on the promised land, the vicious thing that we did to the Creator, that would cause our enslavement. But we got to remember that Almighty Yah said from the beginning that, hey man, these peoples ain't right. And these Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's descendants, but they ain't right. They ain't got the same makeup as they forefathers do, and how they gonna slip and slide. And then that's just what we did. And I'm gonna show that. Look. Then all the men, this us being chased out the land, and then we going into Africa. 1% of us got captured and took into Babylon. This is 588 BCE. Our last act on the promised land. These Israelites that went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion never returned to the promised land when the exiles were released by the Persians after defeating the Babylonians in 538 BC. And how that they didn't come back home, the ones that went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. And then you can see that the Egyptian religion worshippers, the ones that had the spirit of whoredom, didn't return to the promised land. We did not come back to the promised land. Is that you read the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Those 5 books covered the exiles from the Babylonian captivity at 1%, and that how that they never mentioned that the ones that ran into Africa to do the whoredom never come back to be amongst them. That would have been a great day, is that we would have changed our mind and come back up out of Egypt to the promised land to be Yah worshippers when they was released from Babylon, and that we didn't. And this is what we said going into Africa. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelled in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by famine. Now that's what we see it now. You ain't gonna get no respect from Almighty Yah by doing that. You not earning respect. You not earning respect by going to worship other gods. And then that's what our ancestors did. We forsake Prophet Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's belief in Yah, one creator. We went into Africa to worship the demigods. And then that's what got us caught up. That's what got us caught up. That's what made us, lose everything, and to go into slavery and so forth, and to fulfill the curses that Almighty Yah said would be on us after we broke covenant. If you go to I think that's Deuteronomy 32, 32:16. Let's see what it say. Let's see what it say. You know, Prophet Joshua earned the Creator's respect by just being a Yah worshiping and doing what he was supposed to do. Prophet Moses, man, we got a whole bunch of individuals in Tanakh. That's why I was created, to show that these individuals earned Almighty Yah respect, and then they show you the ones that didn't, and then that'll be us, the Israelites that fell victim to the Egyptian religion. Look, if you go to Deuteronomy 16, 31:16, and Elohim said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go a whoring. Look, you see, the spirit of whoredom got us, whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whether they go to be among them, and I will forsake and will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, Are not these evils come upon us, because our Yah is not among us? That's what we saying now today, because we waking up from the slumber of the spirit of whoredom, and we realize that we have to earn respect from Yah by just being Yah worshipers. Like our forefathers earned their respect from the Creator Yah. Alright, Israelites, I hope this video was a little informative to you. Much love from the Israelite Brotherhood.